Hi class, I'm Jennifer Casey, your instructor for English 110, and I'm here to make a video and talk to you about week 2 and the week 2 assignment. I meant to make a video for you last week, but it was incredibly busy for me. It was my finals week at the community college where I teach, and I was grading stacks and stacks of research papers and finalizing all their grades. And I turned in the grades on Monday, and then I was exhausted. However, I did make a video for you yesterday that had all kinds of issues and ended up messing up, and so I'm here again to try this one more time. It's Friday. It could be Friday evening or Friday night, depending where you are. And you may already be working on your assignment. Some of you may have submitted it. And if after viewing this video you want to make any revisions, please do, because it's not due until Monday. All right, so here we go. So to begin with, I wanted to point out that there is a section at the top of the content area that says course questions. And this is a place that you can ask questions that you have about the class, the discussions, or the assignments that you think other students may benefit from. And then if you are a student and you know the answer and you see the question, feel free to answer it. And I will also check this area and answer questions that haven't been answered. All right. And then, of course, there was the Meet Your Faculty Members and Peers, and I enjoyed reading all of the introductions that those of you who participated included, as well as seeing the photos you chose to share. I really enjoy this. And I post my own introduction with a photo of me and my dogs. I have 2 dogs and 6 cats, and I do a lot of rescues, so I'm fostering. All right, and this was week 1, and now let's go to week 2. It's already opened here. So it's always the same every week. There's an overview that goes over the readings and the assignments for the week. There's a folder on the readings and learning activities. And there was a handout on reading strategies and an interactive activity on the rhetorical situation. This is the textbook reading. These are university library resources, which are often readings and sometimes videos. And then this was another video. And then, of course, there's the discussion. And these click open or closed. And then there was an interactive video reflection and your journal entry that you have every week. And then it ends with the assignment, which this week is a summative assessment titled Rhetorical Awareness in Real World Writing, reflecting on writing choices that you cannot see. And I'm going to open the instructions and talk to you about this. So this just talks about why this matters, this idea of the rhetorical situation, or being aware of this rhetorical situation in the way you communicate in work or school or at home in your personal life, but also in your writing. And from this assignment on, we'll be focusing on the writing aspect. Now, the rhetorical situation is part of the writing process. It belongs to the first stage of the writing process, which is the pre-writing stage. This is the stage where you make decisions and choices about what you're going to write about and why. And one of those reasons is because of the rhetorical situation. Now, one element that we haven't talked about is you as the writer. That is an important part of the rhetorical situation. Who you are, what you believe, your background and experiences that you bring to what you're going to write about. That shapes how you think and then what you say. And then, of course, there's your audience, who they are, and your purpose for writing, what you want to do to your audience, and the context, everything that's going on that surrounds that topic or idea you're going to communicate. And the writing process has 5 stages. Stage 1 is the pre-writing, which this is a part of. Stage 2 is the drafting, where you write everything down, you develop your ideas, and you organize them. And then the revision stage, which is where you go back and look at what you wrote and look at what you need to add or maybe take away if it's not relevant, and then organize your ideas. The editing stage, where you're looking at your word choices, your spelling, your grammar, your sentence structure. And then the last stage is publishing or submitting your work. So the assignment starts here, and it says that the first thing is you're going to choose 3 different short communications you've written in everyday life. And here are some examples of what you could choose. And then you're going to literally paste them onto a Word document, either the whole communication, or if it's something you don't want to share the whole thing, then you can just include a little summary of what it was about and who you sent it to. And then you're going to be identifying the rhetorical elements, the purpose, audience, and context. So these are the instructions, but I'm going to show you an easy way to do this and organize your answers. And what I did was I just copied the instructions and then I pasted them onto a Word document. So now I have the title of the assignment, and then I have each section, and all I have to do now is fill each section in. So to begin with is your sample messages, and I put 3 that I might share here. A message to a student, a text message to a friend or family member, and a social media post in which I'm trying to find a home for one of my foster cats. And most of my social media messages are about my fostering and rescuing. So please put your message below so it's clear. You just have to paste them in or write them if it's not, you don't have the ability to copy and paste it. And then I also put the word requirement here, the word count, so I wouldn't forget. And now there are 2 parts to this assignment. There's the rhetorical identification, in which you're going to identify each element of the rhetorical situation. And then the second part is your final reflection about this assignment. Okay, so the first part is identifying each of the elements. And you can organize this in 2 ways. The first is by the sample 1, and then sample 2, and then sample 3, and identifying each element, the purpose, the audience, and the context for the first sample, and then for the second sample and the third sample. So for the purpose, it's what are you trying to accomplish in this message? What is your ultimate purpose, or what are you trying to do in that communication to the other person? To persuade them, to inform them of whatever that is, to explain something. Okay, and then who you're writing to, what assumptions you made about what you think they already knew, or what they expected from this message, or what they needed from this message, and the context. When and where was it written? What was happening around you that influenced how you wrote, or how other communications, previous communications questions that were asked that you're replying to, or other pieces of this writing that you're doing was already discussed or written about that is influencing how you're writing this. All right, so you do that 3 times, or the other way is to organize it by rhetorical element. So you could start with purpose and talk about the first sample, the purpose, then the second, then the third. And then audience the same way, and then context the same way. And then you're going to reflect on this, your own personal reflection about what you learned as you went through this assignment, as you completed this assignment. So there are 3 questions. What did you notice about how you adapt your tone? And writing does have a tone based on how you wrote it and the language you chose, the words you chose. What did you notice about your word choice or your structure, depending on your audience or purpose? How did the context, the time, place, or the situation influence your writing choices? And how might identifying purpose, audience, and context help you write more clearly and effectively in the future, in your school writing or work writing or other aspects of your life? Now, it has to be 700 to 1,000 words total. And I did some practice to see about how much I wrote. And it turned out that for each of these sections, I wrote about 115 to 120 words. So altogether in the first section, rhetorical identification, that would be about about 350 words, maybe up to 400 total in this section, probably around 350. So that means that in the second section, I also need to write about 350 words to meet the minimum requirement. Now you can go a little bit longer, but you don't want to go longer than the maximum. Okay, so I just wanted to show this to you, how I did it, and explain it a little bit. I hope this helped make this assignment a little bit more clear and give you a tip on how you can organize it. But if you still have questions, please send me a message as soon as you can so I have time to respond. And I hope you have a very nice weekend. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.